Coming up on today's show, Nissan is facing some serious flack in the UK over Rapidgate and may even get investigated by the UK Advertising Standards Authority for misleading its customers. Tesla asks its parts suppliers for cashback as it continues to do everything it can to slim down its spending, and automakers in Europe are caught inflating reported emissions for their cars just so that they can meet future emissions targets. These stories and more coming next. It's the end of another busy week in the world of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transportation, and it's also been blisteringly hot in large parts of the Northern Hemisphere. So if you've been suffering with the heat, I hope you get some relief very soon. We're starting today with news from the UK, where Nissan is facing a potential investigation from the Advertising Standards Authority over the way it advertised the rapid charging time of its next generation 2018 Leaf. As I'm sure some of you will know, this new generation Leaf hit the headlines earlier this year when owners discovered that its onboard battery management system throttles down rapid charging power once the battery pack reaches above a certain temperature, resulting in rapid charging times not of half an hour or 40 minutes, but as much as 3 hours. While Nissan does mention that the car's system lowers the battery charging power to preserve the pack in its manual, it doesn't mention that this lowering happens just after one rapid charge, meaning a long-distance trip is all but impractical unless you understand how to keep the pack cool. This one is likely to go on for some time, so of course I'll keep you posted of any updates as they happen. Tesla hit the headlines several times this week, starting with a report last weekend that it had asked some of its parts suppliers for cashback in the form of a meaningful amount of money it had paid to them since 2016. The note, seen by the Wall Street Journal, said that all suppliers were being asked to help the company become profitable. The news caused Tesla stocks to tumble as traders saw this as an indication Tesla was suffering more financial problems than previously thought. I should note, however, that it's not unheard of for automakers to ask for retroactive discounts on parts from suppliers, which are then applied to future orders. As usual with Tesla, it depends on how you view the company as to what you infer from this particular story, so I'll leave it there. This time last year, in fact even a little more recently, it was pretty much expected that Chinese-backed startup Faraday Future was going to wither up and die with mounting debts and cancelled plans for its promised Las Vegas production facility. But this week Faraday Future announced it's received a temporary certification of occupancy at the Hanford, California facility where it hopes to build its FF91 electric car. Next up on its list will be on-site assembly of more FF91 pre-production prototypes, which, as a video shown last week shows, the company is already putting through extensive real-world testing. This includes extended high-speed testing to prove that the car doesn't overheat when pushed beyond what most of us would call normal road speeds. Readying itself to make the switch to electric, Audi confirmed this week that it's now begun serial production of the electric drivetrains it will be using in the upcoming Audi E-Tron SUV. Powered by a pair of electric motors, one on each axle, the Audi E-Tron SUV is expected to offer the same high-power, fast-charging capabilities as the Porsche Taycan, and will have the range that rivals that of Tesla's various models. Initial production volume for motors is expected to sit around 400 units per day, which equates to around 2,800 motors per week, enough for 1,400 cars per week. That's low compared to Tesla's current output, but remember that 1,400 cars per week is a pretty impressive start point, as we assume production will ramp up from there. It's not just Audi either. Fellow German automaker Daimler confirmed this week that it's in the process of retooling 2 of its existing automotive facilities in Germany to increase the number of facilities where it plans to produce electric car battery packs around the world from 6 to 8. It's all part of a €1.5 billion, $1.75 billion US investment from the company to transition away from internal combustion engines to electric, hydrogen and autonomous vehicle technologies. With the first of its mass-produced electric cars due in the next year or so, it looks like Daimler is expecting to go all in as soon as these battery facilities are online. Over the past year or two, there's been increasing agitation online surrounding Tesla. On one side, Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Tesla loyal fanboys. On the other, investors and those always trying to short Tesla stock. And in the middle, folks like me. To date, both extremes have thrown insults at each other to prove their opponents wrong, but this week things went up a gear when Dan Neil of the Wall Street Journal was hounded off Twitter because he published his fair Model 3 Performance First Drive review, as well as online doxing of a Wall Street short who had hidden behind an online pseudonym and stands accused of all kinds of terrible things against Tesla. It comes at a time where both Musk and his most ardent of supporters, as well as those bearing against the company, are reaching fever pitch in their dislike of one another. And as I mentioned in a vlog post this week, it's distracting us from the real thing we should all be focusing on, transitioning the world to cleaner, greener transportation. I've included in the show notes a link to my post, so go watch it if you have time. With its factories now producing motors for the E-Tron, it's no surprise that Audi is readying itself for the official market launch of the vehicle. And when it comes to the US, despite the launch being pushed back, Audi has confirmed that order books for the first long-range premium electric car from the brand will open on September 17th, which is the same day it will make a global debut at an event in San Francisco. At that time, expect to hear final pricing and specification too, so I'm going to do my best to get there and cover it for you all here if you're watching. I'll keep you posted. There may not be vast numbers of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles in the state of California, with only the San Francisco Bay Area and Los Angeles even enjoying anything like a robust refueling infrastructure. But it seems that even though demand is low, there's officially a hydrogen fuel shortage in the state, at least around LA. Signs posted on hydrogen filling stations warn drivers to top off frequently and not to chance it, and Toyota has said that it's working with suppliers to resolve the issue. By the start of next month, it says it will have a decent hydrogen fuel supply available for customers to use, and so the shortages should go away. Continuing its rollout of pilot projects designed to push its autonomous vehicle testing to the next level, Waymo has announced this week that it's launched a partnership with Walmart in Arizona that will make it possible for customers to hail a Waymo self-driving car, have it transport them to Walmart, where they can pick up the groceries they just ordered online at home, taking them and their groceries back home without them ever needing to get out of the car. It may seem like the ultimate in pajama lazy, but given how hot it is in Arizona right now, it certainly ensures you won't overheat in the blistering hell that Arizona is currently. That said, I'm not a fan of grocery picking and delivery services because I'm a little old-fashioned and I like to choose my own fruit and veg. I'd still like to give this a go though because it sounds fun. What do you think? Nearly 3 years after Dieselgate first hit the headlines, a new emissions scandal hit the news this week. But rather than be about automakers trying to cheat emissions tests to make polluting cars seem less polluting, the European Commission has said it has evidence suggesting that many automakers are now inflating their emissions and lowering fuel economy estimates for vehicles today so that they can meet future emissions regulations for 2025 and 2030. Why? Because of the language of the regulation, which says that automakers must reduce their average fleet CO2 emissions by 15% by 2025 and 30% by 2030 based on 2021 emissions levels. In other words, if they make their cars look more polluting today, they won't have to make their cars as clean in 7 years' time. And while these automakers are behaving like sneaky teenagers who have figured out how to do what they want without technically breaking the rules, it's really not cool. After being in development for years and years, Terrafugia has announced that it will be launching its transition flying car next year, complete with a slew of improvements over the initial prototype that will make it a much more enticing buy. This includes using a hybrid electric drivetrain rather than just an internal combustion engine, and improved visibility from 3 onboard cameras, as well as rejigged user interfaces. Sadly though, you'll need a driver's license and a pilot's license to own one, and there's no mention of price. I suspect if you need to ask, you won't be able to afford it. With more electric cars on the world's roads, there's been an increasing focus on the recyclability of electric vehicle traction batteries. Second life projects, where batteries are reused after removal from an electric car, are certainly one way of ensuring those batteries have a long life. But now China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology has announced an official pilot project across 17 different cities and regions around the nation, where electric vehicle battery packs will be safely recycled. The goal is to encourage the establishment of a new battery recycling industry, as well as developing new techniques and practices that ensure batteries don't end up in landfill. Given China is now the world's largest electric vehicle marketplace, it's a pilot project of massive significance to the rest of the world. So watch this space and I will bring you more information as soon as I have it. Despite suffering a hydrogen shortage in California, Toyota has announced this week that it's starting to move towards mass-producing hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, doubling down on its current investments and promising to remove a lot of the expensive materials like platinum that currently make fuel cell stacks so expensive and complex to build. Toyota executives say they're looking at a range of FCVs coming to market by 2025, which will be including passenger and commercial vehicles. And they claim that the company is on the way to increasing the range of the next generation Mirai fuel cell vehicle up to 750 kilometers, 466 miles per fill in the not too distant future. What drives electric vehicle sales? It's a question that many ask and is usually answered by the word incentives. But a new study by the International Council on Clean Transportation, which, by the way, had a part in uncovering the whole Dieselgate debacle back in 2015, suggests that it's actually the number of vehicles that are on sale to customers and the availability of public charging. Looking at plug-in car sales across 50 different US cities, the study shows that while incentives do have an impact, more impact is made by the availability of different models and charging stations. It cites Seattle, Washington and Portland, Oregon. While Washington had an EV incentive until recently, offering zero tax on EVs under $42,500, Oregon hasn't until recently. And in both cases, they both have a large number of EVs driving. And the availability of EVs and the availability of charging infrastructure seems to play more of an important part. That said, incentives can also help push people into the buying side of the EV world, as illustrated by Denver, Colorado's recent change in incentives. But this study does suggest that EV sales and adoption isn't rocket science. Just give people lots of choice in the cars they can buy and lots of places to plug in. Simples. Around the world, we've seen several pilot projects come online where electric car drivers can be rescued when they run out of charge by a special charging van fitted with onboard battery packs. To date, though, most of these have relied on slow, emergency top-up chargers. But as posted on Reddit this week, Chinese company Niro is doing something else, sending a fleet of vans out across busy cities complete with two 70 kilowatt-hour battery packs fitted, as well as a GBT rapid charger. Intended for Niro ES8 SUVs, other electric cars, including Teslas, can make use of the service, since in China, all rapid charging EVs must have the same GBT inlet. Charging from empty to full costs about $26 in a Tesla, but you do get parking included. So it's quite an interesting, convenient service. What do you think? And finally, he helped save Fiat from certain death in 2004 and then went on to help Chrysler by combining the two companies together. He was also the CEO of Ferrari and famously once pleaded with customers not to buy the Fiat 500e because he claimed the company lost tens of thousands of dollars on each vehicle sold. So in the electric car world, it's fair to say that chain-smoking Sergio Marchionne was something of an enemy of plug-in vehicles. In his recent years, though, he did soften slightly, and I do mean slightly, acknowledging earlier this year that plug-in cars and autonomous vehicles have a future after all. Yet, sadly, Marchionne passed away this week, aged 66, leaving quite a hole in both companies and leaving perhaps the question of the future of electric cars at both firms hanging in the balance for now. Marchionne's death was treated with shock by the industry, but it turns out that he'd known of his declining health for more than a year, he just hadn't told anyone. He may have been an enemy of the EV for decades, but nevertheless, I'd like to pass my sympathies and best wishes to his friends, colleagues, and family at this difficult time. And on that note, it's the end of this week's show. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, and support us if you can using one of the 3 links below, and give us some social media buffs if you're so inclined. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to keep pushing to be better, smarter, and kinder. As always, keep evolving.